Now, for days, so the Republicans have been demanding the White House release the memo, right? Release the memo, release the memo. Sean Hannity has, of course, gone on at length about the memo. Oh, it's got to be, there's something in there that is so damaging in the Devin Nunes memo. It's going to take down the FBI. It's going to take down the deep state, right? That's trying to go after Trump. Now, the reason that they say that is because it's supposed to be a gigantic bombshell report that shows clear bias against the president from, of course, like the deep state. Now, does the deep state exist? I would argue that it's yes, but it's not quite as deep as it was before, not quite as entrenched as it was before. But certainly we had the CIA overthrow entire governments, like the government of Iran. Are we doing stuff like that today? Not necessarily. More likely, we don't need to do that anymore because basically our military is owned by the giant corporations. The military-industrial complex just goes and says, hey, you know what we're going to do? We're just going to go and attack this country for their natural resources. So we don't necessarily need deep state machinations when we just outright go and invade countries and steal their resources. Anyway, nonetheless, this is supposed to illustrate this memo that they've got this deep bias against Donald Trump and that they're trying to take him down from the inside. All right, well, so that's why they've been asking for the release of this memo. And so what did they do? They decided, okay, let's release the memo. Now, as I said before, this was written by Devin Nunes. Now, Devin Nunes is a partisan Republican, right? He served on Donald Trump's transition team. So, excuse me if I don't see him as an unbiased source. So, let me go through some of what, basically, that it pointed out. So, what he did is that he wrote about how a FISA court had granted at least 4 different warrants to monitor a Trump foreign policy advisor, Carter Page. Now, they had one warrant and they had actually 3 different renewals, according to the memo. Now, why would they watch Carter Page? Well, Carter Page was considered a Russian asset. Now, before everybody freaks out, I'm going to let you know that this had nothing to do with the Trump campaign when they originally granted this warrant. So this was way back in 2013. He had apparently met with Russian spies and was possibly recruited by one. So he met with this guy. This was before Trump. This is before the 2016 election. 2016 was a twinkle in Hillary Clinton's eye. Okay, back in 2013. Like, oh, maybe I'll run for it, maybe not, I don't know. It is definitely before Donald Trump even considered running for president, at least this time. So, why would the FBI watch Carter Page? Because, again, he met with this Russian government spy. Now, so the FBI, they notice this, they're like, boy, this guy is acting strange. Let's watch him, right? Let's see what this guy's all about. Now, according to Vox, the Bureau was looking into a suspected Russian spy ring and learned that one of their suspects, Viktor Podobny, had met with Carter Page in hopes of finding a potential recruit. In fact, Podobny was caught on wiretap discussing Carter Page. So they have tape of this. And it says, quote, he writes to me in Russian to practice the language. He flies to Moscow more than I do. He got hooked on Gazprom thinking that if they have a project, he could rise up. Maybe he can. I don't know. But it's obvious that he wants to earn lots of money. I will feed him empty promises. You promise a favor for a favor. You get the documents from him and you tell him to go fuck himself. So this is a Russian spy trying to recruit Carter Page to get information about the American government. Now, why would they want to do that? Because, well, governments spy on each other. That's what they do. You don't think we're spying on Russia right now? You don't think we have spies in Russia? Of course we have spies in Russia. We have spies in all sorts of different countries. Why would they not spy on us? That's kind of how things work. Look, we even spy on our allies. We spy on Germany. We spy on the UK. We spy on France. We spy in on everybody, and everybody spies in on us. That's unfortunately a reality that we have in our world. Everybody spies on each other just to know what each other's doing and to see what kind of advantages they can get. So is there no surprise that there were Russians back in 2013 and probably a long time before that were spying into America? Not a surprise at all. This shouldn't surprise you whatsoever. And that there are sometimes Americans that are like, hey, I want to rise up. I want to join this spy ring and maybe get some power and all that stuff. And that's what Carter Page had alleged to have done. Now, Podobny, he said one more interesting thing about Page. He said, quote, I think Page, he is an idiot. That's awesome. Again, so they looked into him, right? So, again, 3 different renewals of this warrant to surveil Carter Page. But the Nunes Memo goes out and says, yeah, but we don't really care so much about that. It's the fact that Rosenstein had went in and extended this surveillance back in 2016, and all of that was based on the Steele memo, the Steele dossier, sorry. Now, because of what was apparently in the Steele dossier, they decided to look into Page later on in 2016. So now you say, of course, see, it is fake because the Steele dossier is 100% fake. You know why? Because it was funded by the Clintons. Of course. So anything touched by the Clintons obviously must be, by definition, completely 100% false and fake. Therefore, we got our answer. Bias, absolute bias. But wait a minute, that. So, yes, was this funded by the Clintons? Of course, right? Was it opposition research meant to make Donald Trump look bad? Of course. Hey, guess what? Campaigns do opposition research. That's what happens. That's what they do. Now, is everything in the Steele memo, or I'm sorry, Steele dossier, 100% fact? Absolutely not. So much of that Steele dossier is actually unverified. There's some verified parts, but mostly a lot of it's unverified. So please understand that. But even talking about that, right? There seems to be enough enough information for a federal judge to not only continue this warrant once, twice, but 3 times. Or do you think that federal judge was in the pocket of Hillary Clinton? You decide. You decide, right? But FISA renewals generally indicate that a judge happens to be convinced that surveillance was yielding information about a target, acting as an agent of a foreign power. And they decide, based on that they would merit continuous monitoring. So even that judge, unless you believe that they're a plant of Hillary Clinton, okay, they say that it's enough information to watch Page. Now, that does not mean that Donald Trump is involved personally, right? But see, here's what the Republicans are doing. They're using this highly partisan memo that supposedly points out some kind of inherent bias within the FBI to try to discredit the Mueller investigation. And that's the whole point of this memo. They go after Rosenstein, right? Because Rosenstein signed one of those requests. And the rest of them, of course, were signed by James Comey. So they point at that and go, aha, James Comey, anti-Trump, big Trump bias. So we can't trust these FISA warrants at all. And we can't trust any of the information at all. They're biased against Trump. And, of course, now Rosenstein biased against Trump, even though Rosenstein was appointed to be there by Trump. But see, the reason that Trump despises Rosenstein is because he appointed Mueller to the investigation after Jeff Sessions had recused himself from the investigation. That, of course, also has earned the ire of President Trump. So he hates everybody at this point. And the reason that he did that is because he wants Mueller gone. That is the ultimate goal. He does not like Mueller. Mueller was poking around in his bank accounts. I can understand why you would be angry about that. Like, hey, get out of my stuff, get out of my information. But wait, what does the Republicans say? If you have nothing to hide, well then, why are you hiding? Why do you not want people to get into your stuff if you have nothing to hide? So, look, and again, to get rid of Mueller, he would have to get rid of Rosenstein, because Rosenstein will not fire him. So if they can show proof of bias through this memo that, again, was hyper-partisan, then he can get rid of Rosenstein, he can appoint someone who's friendly to him, and then eliminate Mueller himself. That's the overall plan of this. And so, is it effective? I don't think so. Now, of course, you look at Republicans, got him, bias. But overall, there's really nothing in this memo that really warrants anything. Yes, they looked at Carter Page. And that's it. But Steele dossier. And I'm still waiting for why is this a bombshell? This is nothing. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.